What's up guys? So if you've been keeping up with the community tab, you would know that your boy got tickets to see The Batman on the 1st for the DC special fan first IMAX screening. No, I didn't get the vessel, so I will have to punish myself for that, but they were giving out these pretty dope The Batman variant comics of the first issue of The Long Halloween, so that was pretty dope, although I had nowhere to put it throughout the movie and my fingers bled the paint on the cover, so that's even more punishment for myself at a later date. But this movie has been a long time coming. Ever since we got the tease at DC Fandom 2020 when the first trailer said coming soon in 2021, and now we're here in 2022. This was probably my most anticipated DC movie this year, and with very good reason. We haven't gotten an actual Batman solo movie in 10 years, and although it'd be enticing to see this Batman interact with the other DCU characters instead of having Michael Keaton come and be the DCU's main Batman, which hey, it is what it is. This Batman exists in a universe solely centered around himself. In an era of connected universes, it's actually quite refreshing to see. Also to see the world react to Robert Pattinson as the Dark Knight and the paradigm shift that would occur from people that still think of him as just the Twilight boy. It's pretty fun to witness. I suppose the real question though for all of you is, was it worth the wait? And the answer is, unfortunately, no. But seriously, this movie is something else, guys. Like, it was just right. I never felt overwhelmed or underwhelmed after the film ended. I felt perfectly whelmed. As odd as that sounds, this is exactly what we actually as fans needed. So with this review, I'll go over the story slash plot, the things that I liked, the problems or nitpicks I had with the movie, because no movie is perfect, what I think the future holds for this franchise, and of course, give it my personal 1 through 10 rating. But before we do, make sure to support your boy by hitting that sub button, turning on your notifications, leave a thumbs up, follow my social medias. Guys, once again, let's just remember how eternally blessed we are to have the iconic role of Catwoman filled by the baddie, Zoe Kravitz. Bless her method soul. Release the footage, okay? Now, let's get into it. So the movie starts off with Riddler's first murder, which eventually starts the whole series of murders that follow and the game throughout the film. Batman and Jim Gordon are pretty tight from the very beginning of the movie, which I really liked how much Jim Gordon actually trusts Batman, and you see that throughout the movie. And so they start investigating this mysterious riddle leaving killer who leaves riddles specifically for Batman, and he seems to be going after people in positions of power and shedding light on how exactly they were using that power, which ended up being in pretty horrendous ways. And throughout the movie, certain characters get caught up in the fold, like Zoe Kravitz's Selena Kyle. She has a close friend that goes missing as a result of being affiliated to one of those men with corrupt power and gets thrust into the mix working with Batman. With each murder comes another riddle, another secret exposed, another channel or person Batman has to go through for answers, and all to get closer to the grand reveal of the movie, which is that Thomas Wayne had Carmine Falcone kill a reporter who was intent on showing Martha Wayne's history of mental illness to the public, erasing that holier than thou public image of the Waynes during Thomas Wayne's campaign for mayor. Also, Carmine Falcone ends up being the deadbeat father of Selena Kyle, which was a bit odd of a stretch from the source material, but honestly, I had no problem with it. It doesn't ruin anything in my opinion, but that reveal wasn't quite what it seemed to be when Alfred lets Bruce know that Thomas just wanted Carmine to scare the man to protect his wife and never intended to have the man killed, and that it was Carmine who took it too far. We find as well that Carmine pretty much had most of the cops in Gotham working for him, and they were all siphoning money from the $1 billion renewal fund that was meant to be for the city that was set up by the Waynes. And this was one of Riddler's biggest grievances as well. And towards the end of the movie, Riddler is purposefully caught and sent to Arkham Hospital, and there he gets interrogated by Batman, and we're led to believe for a second that Riddler actually knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne, but he ends up believing Batman to have been his partner in this whole affair and his sick twisted mind, okay? And that the only person they weren't able to kill was Bruce Wayne, so that's why he was saying Bruce Wayne. Almost got Batman for a second, not quite. He picked up on it, and we find out that the Batman had not only been a symbol of vengeance for good people of Gotham, but for the bad ones, okay? A source of inspiration to take up their own arms and exact their own form of justice, which I might have called it, okay? Watch the Batman video that I made previously. This is where Bruce starts to understand the impact he has as Batman, Batman. And so Riddler's master plan gets set into motion and explosives all along the city are detonated and the city starts to flood, very reminiscent of Zero Year. And so Batman is faced with something I don't believe we've really seen him deal with in live action. There is no final villain to fight or bomb to move away from the city. Batman has to stay and kind of help the people of Gotham through a kind of pseudo force of nature. And Batman stays and helps the people of Gotham not with his fists, but with his heart, okay? Which is very on par with the book the movie is partially based on, Batman Ego. In that book, as much as Batman is a terrifying symbol to the underworld, he is also a symbol of hope to the good people of the city. He's a hero, not just the guy that whoops thugs' asses and asks questions later, which I loved. And the transition from a symbol of just vengeance to a symbol of hope as well was quite beautiful to see in live action. I really like that progression. And in the end, Bruce and Selina go their separate ways in a kind of stoic final goodbye. Oh, and I almost forgot, guys, at the very end, we get the Joker in here, or Stanley Merkel. And although we could barely make him out, we got the laugh. And honestly, that was the perfect amount of Joker, letting us all know he's there, but not enough so we get sick of him because of how much Joker content there's been out there. It's very easily oversaturated, so I get it. And I think Matt Reeves did an amazing job with this film. But before we talk about all the things that I liked, we gotta talk about the darkness, all the problems, the things that I hated, or the nitpicks that I had. So the thing about this movie, the issues that I have, the story was kind of predictable. I think everyone pretty much could have picked up on how this was going to go. I was pretty sure by everything that we saw in the trailers that Thomas Wayne was gonna have done some shady shit and that the movie would more so end the way it did. It's everything that you'd expect out of a corruption movie. So that's my only gripe with the story. And also, it's a bit more grounded than I would have liked. And yes, this is a personal nitpick, but it just felt so damn grounded. And it's like, we already got the most grounded Batman that we could get with Christopher Nolan's Batman. I would have hoped we got a little bit more fantastical, and hey, maybe there's still room for more fantastical shit to happen. I want to see a Killer Croc, a Clayface, you know, some of these more out there villains. So maybe we'll get to those in the future, but I'm hoping Matt Reeves kind of pushes the limits of what this Batman is capable of in the future. So I'm very excited about that. Now, that's pretty much all the problems I had with this movie because there is so much to like. So first off, the suit and the cowl really grew on me. I know a lot of people had issues with it when it first got released, the first look, but I actually really have come to like it. Visually, this movie is beautiful, okay? It's probably the most beautiful Batman movie ever, and probably one of the most beautiful movies just ever. Perfect gothic, neo-noir vibes. Really no ugly shots that I can remember in this movie. That is the perfect atmosphere for Batman. The message of hope, Batman realizing how he inspires not just the good people, but the bad ones, and being conscious of that. I love the comedy in this movie. Now, I know people will talk shit about MCU comedy, which I don't find too egregious. Some shit I do, but the comedy in this movie really reminded me of comedy like in a Hangover movie. Like, it's very natural. It's not forced at all, which I really loved and I really enjoyed. Good action. Okay, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. I still think Ben Affleck is peak action and aesthetic, but that takes nothing away from Pattinson. Really strong performances all around. And honestly, this movie really breaks the comic book movie formula. I mean, there was no big final battle. It was just the superhero at the end helping the people of the city that he protects in an actual realistic way besides, you know, beating up thugs, which is still important, but there's other ways to be a hero. And I really like seeing Batman, especially in this light, because people, I think, just too often associate him with just whooping ass, which is badass, but still, there's more ways than one to be a hero. And I think that's very important because these movies, because they are of the same genre, that comic book movie genre, they can become formulaic. Something bad happens, the hero is set off on his journey, he meets adversity, then he eventually fights whoever at the end, he wins, he prevails at some kind of cost or whatever, and yada yada yada, the movie ends. I think this movie defied that. It was actually very consistently engaging. So in MCU movies, and I hate to compare it to MCU movies because it's so different, but I'm just saying this for reference, what you will see is that in MCU movies, there's highs and there's lows. There's parts that are stagnant, a bit slow, and then there's parts that are very fast. This movie has a very consistent pace throughout. It's a long, consistent burn. That's what I would say. There was no part where I was like super hyped up or super just bored. I really enjoyed that kind of consistency. Each character was put to use and was integral to the story and the plot. Colin Farrell did amazing, and you could barely even tell that he was the Penguin. He was such a fucker. I love loved it. Honestly, this Batman movie was so refreshing to see. I think it breaks the conventional formula of comic book movies. It shows you how beautiful a movie can be in the comic book movie genre, and I honestly wish that more movies looked as good as this one. But obviously different characters, different styles, different aesthetics. No movie is gonna look exactly like the Batman. I love the emphasis Matt Reeves put on the detective skills of Batman. This is by far the best detective Batman story that we've ever gotten, which is really reigns true with Long Halloween about like this, murder mystery and Batman investigating it. Thank you for making a Long Halloween adaptation that was actually kind of true to the source material, Matt Reeves. You're amazing. And it really showed off how smart he was. But the good thing about this movie as well is that this is year 2 Batman, okay? And although Robert Pattinson's Batman was good at fighting, he was intelligent, he was a good detective, he had a lot of good things going for him, he still has a lot of room to improve and to progress. And I really enjoyed that. Now, I think what the future holds is this Batman getting more gadgets, getting more comic accurate suits. I think he'll slowly progress into the Batman from the comics that we're most familiar with. And I think that is beautiful. And I think after these movies are said and done, or after a lot more people see this movie, they'll start to draw more comparisons between the Batmans that we've currently had and the Spider-Mans that we've currently had, which I hate comparing shit. But honestly, Christian Bale, Tobey Maguire, the Batman and Spider-Man from our childhoods, some would say those are the OGs. And then we have Andrew Garfield and Ben Affleck, who are visually and aesthetically the best Spider-Man and the best Batman. Honestly, I still love Ben Affleck's suit the most from BVS. His fighting style, like you can't compare anything to the warehouse scene. Amazing Spider-Man 2, say what you want, visuals are peak Spider-Man. We'll have to see more from Tom. When it comes to Tom and Robert Pattinson, the newest iterations of these famous characters who are given room to progress and not being default their character from the comics, so we get a little bit closer to them while we're watching these movies. I think we're gonna see him throw batarangs in the next movie, smoke bombs, employ more gadgets, detective mode, all sorts of crazy shit. Hopefully Robin comes in the future. Either Matt Reeves or Robert Pattinson said that he wants Robin in the sequel, and of course Mr. Freeze, which I think would be absolutely badass. Let's get some Heart of Ice going, maybe Cold Days. Let's get some crazy stuff going. Paul Dano's Riddler was psychotic and outstanding, and I can't wait to see him again, because supposedly we are going to see him again, and hopefully it'll be with a lot more of Batman's rogues gallery. Zoe Kravitz's Selena Kyle / Catwoman was amazing. She held her own. She was sexy as hell. I mean, come on, it's Zoe Kravitz, okay? Like, there was one moment when they had to be quiet because somebody went into the dead mayor's apartment, and it looked straight like they were dry humping, okay? It was pretty crazy. So that was pretty enjoyable. But yeah, guys, the Batman, you have to see it. I would say it is a masterpiece, and it's probably my favorite Batman movie so far that I've ever seen, honestly. I think it contends with The Dark Knight, although I don't want to compare them. I love both, and you can love both. Don't let anybody tell you different. That is why I'm going to be giving the Batman a solid 9 out of 10. I think this movie is awesome. Everybody should go see it. All Batman fans should go see it as soon as you can. Perfect neo-noir vibes, perfect Batman vibes, honestly. If you want to enjoy yourself for nearly 3 hours until, your bladder is fully exploded and expanded in that order, go watch the Batman. That is it, guys. Let me know what you thought of the movie, your opinions, if you liked it, if you didn't, let me know your favorite parts, everything. That's it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.